dog walking crime prevention program to pet stations along trails, and a dog run at Centennial Park, residents of the town of Munster enjoy the company of their canine counterparts. That's why this Indiana community was devastated to learn about the sudden passing of their first four-legged officer, who dedicated 6 years of his life to the police department and took part in over 200 deployments alongside Officer Brian Hernandez.
The Django, he's a Belgian Malinois. They're very popular in the police dog world, and he loved to work. He'd do anything for his tennis ball, which is his reward. So as long as he was getting paid, he'd do anything you asked him to.
Officer Hernandez introduced 1-year-old Django to the community soon after they began working together, as a way to thank residents and businesses for donations that brought him onto the force.
I first met Django in 2012 when he joined the Munster Police Department as our first canine. Officer Hernandez brought him to Wilbur Wright Middle School where he did a demonstration. The last experience I had with Django was this past fall when I did a community policing event. Officer Hernandez brought him out, and his sense of smell and his intelligence was just incredible.
Django was trained as a dual-purpose narcotics detection dog. He served communities in both Indiana and Illinois, using scent to search for drugs, primarily during traffic stops, but also while examining buildings and tracking suspected criminals.
We got a call of a robbery down at one of our gas stations. So we get there, we got a good perimeter set up. The suspect had ran from the scene into this field. So we got there, and Django actually alerted to the guy, found him, and then we were able to take him into custody. And that was his first time finding a real-life bad guy. It was pretty special to me. I was pretty proud of him in that moment, just because all the training had paid off, all the hard work, all the hours, and it all paid off right there.
Officer Hernandez and Django weren't just partners at work. They spent time off the clock together, too.
He was pretty much my best friend. He'd hang out at home with me. He'd lay up on the couch when we were watching TV. He'd sleep in the bed with us. He was just a normal house pet when we got him home.
In late January of 2019, Officer Hernandez noticed swollen masses right below Django's jawline while giving him a bath. Samples of the masses were sent for testing, and Django was diagnosed with lymphatic cancer. Veterinarians discussed treatment options, but Officer Hernandez felt it would be too stressful on him without a guarantee that the treatment would increase his quality of life.
I didn't notice a change of behavior until maybe a week or two later, where he started to slow down a little bit. So at that point, I knew it was time to make the decision to retire him based on his diagnosis. But then just one night, he wasn't doing well. I kind of stayed up with him all night, and then it ultimately had to make the decision of how comfortable he was and what did I want to put him through, kind of deal. So the decision was made to humanely put him down the day before he was scheduled to retire. So it was a tough decision.
When I first heard about Django's passing, I was so sad. He was our first and only canine in Munster. I wanted to do something to show Officer Hernandez and the entire police department that he had our town's support. So I decided to put a blue light in my living room window, and I also suggested it to the whole community through social media. It was just a small, simple gesture I thought we could do as a community in addition to attending his memorial service.
We decided to have a memorial service for Django. A lot of people invested in this canine program, so it made sense for them to come pay their respects. The people that showed up really cared about Django and his impact on the community. You could really tell.
There was a nice table display with Django's belongings and the video montage, and I thought it was so nice to see neighboring communities' police departments show up and pay their respects.
Django joined the Munster PD thanks to federal grants, generous donations, and community fundraisers. The K-9 unit is currently seeking support to enlist their next recruit to serve and protect the community.
I know that Django will always be special in our hearts and we'll never replace him, but I do look forward to the next K-9 that joins our force.
They are that extra tool that we can use in our line of work. They help us do our job more efficiently. They can do things that we can't do. They're just amazing animals, and there's so much that they can do. I still find myself sitting in my chair and looking over to where Django would normally be sitting and expect him to be staring back at me, because his eyes were always on me. It seemed like he's always watching over me, and that's one of the biggest things that I miss right now. He just wasn't a tool to me. I mean, he was my family.
Lieutenant Django has answered the highest call. It's with great sadness that I announce the passing of Munster Police Department's first K-9, Django. Django passed away on February 27, 2019, after losing his battle with cancer. Django was put into service in August 2012 as a dual-purpose narcotics detection K-9. He served faithfully alongside his handler, Officer Brian Hernandez, for 6 years. Django was a huge part of our department and will be missed by all of us. K-9 Django is 1042. Lake County clear. 1701 hours. WQBX 460.